All right, I think we're good now with the audio. Hopefully, can everyone hear me okay? Hey, what's up, guys? Whoa, 9 likes. Hey, that's what's up. That's what's up. All right, so let's begin here. So as you guys see in the title here, we're going to talk about semis, right? Semiconductors, and we've been talking about semiconductors for the past. Well, now this is the third time that we're talking about semis here since last Thursday. So the reason being for this stream that's specifically focused on the overall semiconductor sector is that AVGO, Broadcom, had an amazing blue sky breakout after hours. And a lot of my members, including me, were in it due to and thanks to earnings. The earnings reaction was largely the reason for this very large blue sky breakout after hours into, I believe right now, the current overnight trading price action is at $205 per share price. So that's a big move, right? So, you know, I believe AVGO hit a high of like 208. So that's a really, really big move from today's close of 180.66. So, you know, to me, this could be the reignition of semiconductors, right? Because if you guys remember, I was giving you guys about the reasons why I think semiconductors are seeing, well, actually, let me rephrase that. The overall tech sector was seeing an internal rotation, right? An internal rotation. And what I meant by that was there was an outflow of money from semis as people kind of they figured that the growth story in the semiconductor space was kind of dissipating, right? It's kind of gone. The entire growth story was already done, right, at this point, from 2023 to 2024, even people went to 2024 up to now, and they began to look at the beneficiaries of this current AI revolution, and we were looking at software, as software, or ticker symbol IGV, began to we're back. So as I was saying, the ticker symbol IGV, right, we saw an immense amount of volume coming in at the breakout in early October, and it led into a complete, you know, upside move. It's just a huge move to the stratosphere for software names, and individual software stocks continued to move up higher, and we were involved in that, right? We moved our money, our funds, into these specific software leaders, and it helped us grow our accounts, and we had a huge generation of great profits in a lot of these names. Like, for one to be in, SQ is also another one to be in, which is a fintech name. And so overall, tech software group had an immense amount of money inflows. While that was happening, on the other side, during this internal rotation amongst the overall tech group, semiconductors were not doing anything, right? So, hey, thank you guys for 10 likes. To people who are just joining in now, we just began, so don't worry about the fact that you guys may have missed out on anything. But again, you guys can always look at the replay once the stream is over. So, semis here basically haven't done anything since, I would say since the beginning of October, when software began to break out from its large base that it made. So again, take a look at IGV, this is when we had a very large breakout from the overall macro cup and handle that I pointed out for you guys multiple times over the last couple of months, right? And in October, we saw IGV breaking out while semis attempted, right? They attempted to break out, but they were not even close, right? So, hey, what's up, Anthony? Guys, make sure you guys hit that like button down below. Just smash it. If you guys are just joining in now, it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and really pushes my videos and these streams to everyone who needs to see it, right? I think everyone deserves to see the information that I give to you all, right? So SMH definitely has been moving sideways for months. I mean, even if you go back before October, it's been going sideways since I would say August, after that nice August low, after the nice pullback from the overall markets. Now, here's the thing, okay? So after this price action, we have now seen, well, I'm personally seeing a lot of bearishness on SMH, right? Which is, I mean, it's valid, right? I mean, SMH has been lagging. There's this internal rotation that's going on, but that is the reason why we call it an internal rotation. If IGV, the overall tech software sector, is seeing some sort of a pullback, as we've been seeing with individual leading software names, there could be a renewed and reignition of interest in semiconductors after Broadcom's very large breakout to the upside and great earnings and great guidance forward into 2025, and that can allow the entire semi sector to have a very good rally into the end of this year. And in fact, that can also help fuel more buying coming into the overall markets and possibly lead NASDAQ and both the S&P 500 to continue to move up higher and possibly even ignite the Santa rally that we've been looking out for so far. So here's the thing, right? So there's a lot of bearishness out there for the semis because we're making this fairly, relatively large, I would say, head and shoulders chart pattern. Okay, now here's the thing, right? So there is a good chance that, or not just a chance, there's a good high probability that we can be seeing the price completely negating this inverted head and shoulders chart pattern. Now I'm going to give you guys an option contract, or I'm going to look through some options that you guys can use by looking at the options chains for SMH and SOXL, okay, the leveraged side for semis, in a few minutes, so bear with me here. And so, regarding the price potentially negating this this bearish head and shoulders chart pattern, we need to completely break to the upside by making a new higher high and a higher low. But we basically just need a higher high to confirm that yes, we're not going to be playing this head and shoulders chart anymore, and we're going to completely negate it by breaking to the upside and potentially revisiting the previous highs and also the all-time high price print of $283.07. Does this make sense, guys? Okay, I just want to make sure that you guys are understanding here. All right, I see your guys' reactions there on your on the chat room there. Okay, so excuse me, guys. I have a stuffy nose today for some reason. I hope I'm not getting sick. So with SMH, the first pivot point that we need to break over is right here. Okay, so this is the October 14th weekly candlestick. So the high of $262.26. Now, before we even get over this previous high pivot point, we need to get over a major level of resistance sitting at 257. Now, here's the interesting part. So I believe it was yesterday or even the day before yesterday on SMH there was a very interesting option contract that accumulated in volume in the March 21st, 2025 expiration date. And here it is, okay? The 250 strike call contract. Okay, it's a bit pricey, relatively pricey, okay? I mean, even if you buy one, you can have a lot of gains and also a lot of losses as well. But again, if you guys can't afford this contract, that's completely fine. But I'm just pointing out that there was an unusual amount of buying that came in at this 250 strike call contract. And it's been going on and off, right? They're buying and selling. But today, we saw another round of buyers coming into this option contract. Now, I don't know. Let's see here. No. Okay, maybe I'm confusing it with a different strike, but I swear I've seen another more in the money or even at the money strike here on this expiration. But anyways, so we have an accumulation now of 3,215 call contracts on the strike for SMH, right, for the open interest. And just today alone, we had another activity of volume on this contract, so a mixture of buying and selling of 340 contracts. And who knows, maybe a bulk of these contracts of 340 might be contributing to the OI, the open contracts on this strike. So this is looking pretty good because after hours, I believe for SMH, we're sitting at like 247. You guys can check all of this on Robinhood's overnight trading activity. Okay, so let me actually bring it up here. SMH, yeah. So we're sitting at $247.10. So that's still a very large move. I believe we moved nearly almost 2% overnight from the closing price of today at $243.37. So pretty good move. But if you guys remember, SMH holdings, the top 10 holdings is number 1, NVIDIA, and number 2 is Taiwan Semiconductor, so TSM, and then number 3 is Broadcom, right? So AVGO is the third largest holding in SMH, right? So that's something that you guys should always know. It's NVIDIA, TSM, and AVGO on SMH. You guys should at least know the top 3 holdings of any very popular tickers for an ETF like SMH, right? The semiconductor ETF. So with SMH seeing a nice jump up higher, with AVGO, the third largest holding, having a nice jump up after hours, you can bet that Taiwan Semiconductor and NVIDIA can also catch up with AVGO tomorrow. So, Commandant Sparky, what's up? Oh, you said that 280 strike is 3. Yeah. So this is a pretty good amount too, right? And expiration is, I mean, this is pretty solid, right? March 21st, 2025. That's a couple months away. So, if this works out for you guys, that can work too, right? 280. It's relatively cheap. It's pretty cheap for me. Now, obviously, again, relatively cheap. Even the 300 strike call contract is very cheap too. So, I'm gonna look at 250 tomorrow because I would love to see this contract becoming very, very deep in the money. If we can even move, I would be even satisfied for a move to 257. I'll just tell you guys right now. I mean, I'm most likely going to get this contract tomorrow for SMH. Very good time. And depending on how we move early in the morning, if you see a nice pullback and a nice pivot, I might just grab this 250 contract, at least 2 to start out. And see where it goes, because even if it's a small move to 257, this contract is going to be deep in the money, right? I mean, even just having one contract, if you guys can afford it, will give you guys a lot of good, meaningful profits in a short period of time if we can move back up to 257. Now, with all of this being said, okay, let me put away this options chain for now, okay? With all this being said, this entire stream about SMH and about this potential move back to the upside for the overall semiconductor sector completely relies on this internal rotation between software and semis, okay? It literally only depends on that specific topic and subject. Internal rotation, right? Now, what's also interesting is that semiconductors, as a one of the leading facets of this leading tech group, has been lagging with small and mid caps, especially the small caps. And so, to me, now I'm wondering what's going to happen as we head into the end of this year, because for IWM specifically, okay, so let me just go to IWM. For small caps, we tend to see the seasonality for small caps restart around the last half of December, which will be next week, right? And also, what's next week? We also have the last FOMC meeting for this year. And it seems like we have a very high probability of a rate cut. And again, I've given you guys this back in September that the Federal Reserve will most likely keep the target of having 50 BP cuts, a total of 50 BP cuts, basis points, cuts for the last two FOMC meetings, and they'll most likely split it with 125 and the other 25 BP cuts. And that's exactly what we've been getting so far, right? We've got the 25 BP rate cut back in November, and now we're going to be getting most likely another 25 BP rate cut next week. And so that should provide and actually, again, reignite the bullish momentum in IWM. Yes, it didn't close that well today, but there is a lot of demand around 233 to 235, and that's the reason why I've been looking at IWM all of this day today, and there's a good chance that I'll be also adding to my longer term IWM positions tomorrow. Now, what's interesting about this relative to SMH is that if the leading group of semiconductors start to see an internal rotation out of software and into semiconductors, will that also reignite small caps as well? Can there be a possibility of small caps and the overall leaders like SMH move in tandem back to the upside? Okay, that is a major question that you guys should all be questioning yourself when you're looking at the overall markets as we head into the end of this year. Now, all the option flows continue to point towards more upside for IWM into the end of this year and into all of next year. And I've given my members here in the CFO Streaming Watch report and also in the private CFO Discord that I'm already seeing a lot of put sales and call flows for December 2025 and even into January of 2026 for IWM, right? So there's a lot of long-term flow going into IWM, and at the same time, we've been getting some blotches of longer-term buying in SMH as well, which I've also mentioned last week. And so last week, I also attempted to buy some SOXL, but I was pushed out. So I got pushed out at a stop loss of, well, I took a percentage stop loss of 20% and ultimately at 25%. It was almost 25. It was like 24 point something percent. But it was a stop loss nonetheless, and it was still relatively a small loss. And SOXL can still be another opportunity here if you guys don't want to play SMH, if it's a little bit too expensive. Now, SOXL is a 3 times leveraged ETF for the semiconductors. And if you guys are focusing on options, which I don't think you guys should do, since SOXL is cheap enough and also it's 3 times leveraged. And so I would highly recommend to use equity. But again, if you guys like the option contracts more because you think it's a bit more liquid, even though SOXL is liquid enough, I mean, just take a look at the average volume. It's at 70 million, okay? But here it is, okay? Now, let's take a look at the same similar strike price that we're looking at for, well, they don't have the same one, but near the same expiration date as SMH, okay? So let's take a look at the February 21st, 2025. So this is my birthday month, if you guys didn't know that. So if you guys want to send me a present, okay? My birthday is coming up, all right? In 2 months. Okay, it's gonna be February 2nd, 2/2. Very, very hard to forget. Right? 2/2, okay? So if you guys want to send me a present, go ahead. All right, I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting for you guys as your gifts. Okay, so as I'm waiting for your gifts, I'll be also giving you guys gifts with some amazing plays, okay? Okay, anyways. Again, small hint. February 2nd, okay? 2-2. Very, very, very important day. Okay, so anyways, all right, let's get back into the topic. Quick tangent there. So SOXO, right? It's also really not looking too good. It's also leveraged, which is why we've seen a broader and a deeper pullback compared to SMH. But then again, SOXO will follow the overall semiconductor ETF SMH as long as it can continue to move up higher. Now, obviously, SOXO also looks very bad regarding my SMAs since the price is still below all 4 of my SMAs here. The weekly 10, weekly 21, weekly 50, and weekly 200 SMAs. Now, if SMH can get going and it takes SOXL with it, there's a good chance that the price can come back up and even retest $40. All right, we can have a very nice explosive move to the upside. I believe SOXL almost hit $30, which was my previous entry point. Right, I got in on this weekly candlestick last week, above 30. And eventually, I was pushed out, unfortunately. But well, actually, let me actually put it to where it's at now. Okay. And if you go all the way up to $40, that's nearly a 35% increase, right? I mean, that's just on equity alone. But if you take a look at option contracts, okay, come on, Sparky LOL. Yeah, I mean, again, my birthday is on February 2nd. So, for SOXL, if you take a look at the chart here, even a rise into 36.50, which is my next major level of resistance on the weekly time frame, and if you just decide to choose, for example, $35, 35 strike for this contract will be in the money, right? It'll be deep in the money, and it's relatively cheap, right, compared to SMH. So SOXL can definitely work out too tomorrow if you guys choose to use this ticker compared to SMH. Now, if you go back to SMH. Okay, if you go back to SMH, and instead of looking at the May. I keep on saying March. I don't know why I keep saying March, but I think it's a little habit of mine there right now. So again, it was, no, I was right. There we go. Okay, I guess it didn't load. Or maybe I'm going crazy, guys. Am I going crazy? Okay, so for March, okay, maybe it's just the coffee that I just had. I'm very jittery right now. So maybe I shouldn't have drank coffee. It's almost 9 o'clock here on the Pacific Coast, but so instead of looking at March here, let's take a look at January 17th, right? Because if semiconductors take away the open interest or the overall momentum from the lagging small caps and mid caps, there's a chance that we can see an end of the year run up for semiconductors since they haven't done anything since October. And again, what happened in October? In October, we saw software breaking out while semiconductors continued to move sideways with some flushes back to the downside in the middle. Right, there's a lot of liquidations that happened in SMH during this entirety of the sideways price action for about 3 to 4 months. Right, so there's a lot of consolidation that has happened so far, and if it's going to break out, it should be a very large breakout. And so if you're going to bet on that, and if you want to have a closer expiration date with a better premium for yourself, okay, I would highly recommend looking at the January 17th expiration date because, well, the premium prices are a lot more friendlier. And there's a lot of accumulation going on here that will be, again, if once the January expiration and the January OPEX comes by and we see a lot of these expirations, a lot of these contracts expiring, that could potentially be a market top as well. And I could go deeper into that at a later time regarding options flow and options market and the importance of OPEX, the monthly OPEX. So with SMH, I would also highly recommend, even with, let me actually bring up SMH here again. So we can do a nice side by side on the weekly time frame again. Okay, so there's a lot of open interest on every single one of these out the money strikes. Okay, and at some point we should be seeing IV also rising as well for these contracts. And you know, if you want to play it safe, hey Joel, yes, it's lit, very, very lit, right? So you know, if these contracts are still pretty much expensive for you guys, you can maybe even do a debit spread, right? It's a good way to lower your risk and lower your profits as well, potential profits. But at the same time, you have a set limited profit that you can achieve depending on which strikes you choose, right? I've talked about vertical spreads a lot, right? I love them. I love playing them, and I also love butterflies as well too. Very recently, I've begun to really like butterflies. And I've been also looking at iron condors as well. Iron condors, I'm not really active with those. I just like to stick with those multi-legged option spreads like butterflies, or even just simple vertical debit spreads. But if you guys want to keep it simple and use these vertical debit spreads here, you know, maybe you can choose you know, 270 to 260. So you buy 260 and then you sell 270 to finance the buying of 260. Or maybe you can do 255 and 250. Right, if you guys want to keep it safe, keep it very, very close to home here where the current price is. And again, SMH is currently around 247 right now. So if you get a nice breakout over the whole number level of 250, and then eventually if you start going past 250 and maybe heading towards 257, there's a good chance that your spreads will be at the maximum amount of profits that it can get. And your broker can calculate that for you too. So, I mean, what broker out there is not doing that? So you don't have to guess, right? You don't have to do the math as well. It's very simple math, but again, if you guys want to know the exact risk amount that you're taking, and also the amount of profits that you can potentially get, the max profits, if the underlying share price is at the, for example, at the if you use 255 and 250, if it's over 255 or at 255 by expiration, it will tell you the maximum amount of potential profits that you can get from that debit spread. Okay, and so with SMH being very liquid, with this expiration too, you can still keep a nice $5 increment or difference between the strikes of any type of vertical debit spread. And obviously for even butterflies as well, you guys can keep it relatively close with a difference of strikes, since butterflies use 3 strikes, okay, on the same expiration date. And also you write or you sell one specific contract, the middle contract. But again, I can go over butterflies at a later time. But let's focus on keeping it simple here for vertical debit spreads. So again, if you want to use a $10 difference or increment here between the strikes, you can do that as well to give yourself more room for the underlying share price to fall within the range that you choose. For example, like 260 and 250, I might be interested in this one, maybe tomorrow. But again, I will most likely be looking at taking these March 21st 250 strike call contracts. I mean, these will be very, very deep in the money, and I'll be in huge profits, even if the underlying share price decides to just go up to 257. Right? I mean, even if it just goes to 257, it's lit. It's lit, right? You know, that's something that I'm going to be looking out for. Okay. All right. So hopefully you guys have major notes there for SMH and SOXL. Hopefully this can provide you guys with a good amount of guidance as what you can expect if we do see that internal rotation. And again, we've seen, just compare. Guys, just compare IGV and SMH, right? I've gotten a lot of questions about this on Instagram, on Discord, okay? You know, how did you see that IGV, right, was about to have a great breakout? How did you know that IGV was basically very, very bullish? And the fact that people were getting so bearish and already thinking about a market crash back in October, I knew that you shouldn't be doing that, right? We shouldn't be already getting bearish because IGV looked so good. And I was seeing that the underlying price trends and the overall sentiment was heading towards software, right? And I posted IGV back in September. If you guys take a look at the pinned tweet on my Twitter page, okay, you guys will see it, okay. And IGV, very explosive run up, and there's a good chance that we pull back even further. And that pullback can cause a cascade of money inflow back into semiconductors and possibly even take away attention from small caps, unfortunately. But again, longer term, right? We need to be thinking about small caps and mid caps from a longer term perspective. So I wouldn't be too worried if small caps don't get the full amount of attention and that seasonal relative strength into the end of this year, in the last half of December and into January and February. Okay, I wouldn't be too worried about that as long as you guys have longer term outlooks and positions. So for SMH, there is a good chance that we can have it finally the semiconductors can have a nice run up higher and give us a big run up to 257. And again, if we break over 257, we need to make, okay, it's not yet a confirmed breakout or reversal to the upside because we need to break over this previous pivot high point of $262.26, okay, 262.26. So once we're able to get over this, then we are in an official uptrend for semiconductors, and we can definitely say for sure that we have negated this bearish head and shoulders chart pattern. All right. Okay, so that is it for tonight, guys. I just want to do a quick 30-minute or 30+ minute now stream here about this internal rotation in the overall tech sector. Hopefully you guys can get used to how these streams have been going by looking into individual tickers and maybe like today, individual sectors. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. If you guys are, and if you guys are watching the replay, make sure you guys smash that like button down below. And if you guys are new, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as well. And if you guys are interested in joining the CFO Swing and Watch report and become a private member of the CFO Discord community, make sure you guys DM me on Instagram at ChartsFocus1. I promise you, I 1000% guarantee you, you guys will not regret joining. Okay, you know, again, I've been saying this over and over again. All right, if you guys need guidance, if you guys don't have the time to do all the research, the top to bottom market research that I do on a weekly basis, right, where I spend hours upon hours on Friday all the way up into Sunday of reading and doing my own analysis and finding stocks that are showing us A+ chart setups, right, and just from a fundamental standpoint. You know, if you guys are interested in that, if you guys are liking the guidance, if you guys want guidance, right, and if you guys need guidance, this weekly report is for you. All right. So again, it's the CFO Swinger Watch report. We do swing trades, and if you guys don't like swing trades, guess what? You can use those swing trade ideas to day trade. Simple as that. All right. Okay, so make sure you guys DM me on Instagram at ChartsFocus1 to get 50% off for your first 30 days. You guys will not, again, I repeat, you guys will not be regretting your choice by joining us. Okay, all right. Have a great rest of your night. And thank you so much for watching. Okay, and I'll see you guys next week on Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great rest of your night.